Buddy,
What's up, you beautiful son of a bitch?
a lot actually. Um,
Yeah,
Tomorrow is a big day for me. I start student teaching full
dude,
time.
I'm super excited for you, and I'm super proud of you too. Like that's
Dude,
awesome.
thanks. Thanks. Yeah, I got high school juniors. I'm teaching US history. Yeah,
Good.
it's good.
So now, do you have somebody that like sits there with you, or are you on your own?
So it's a mixture of both. So I've done observations and more hands-on stuff throughout the program.
Yep.
And this is like the culmination of everything. So in deployment terms, this is like an ITX.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
it's just easing in the first couple of days. My cooperating teacher said he'll be in there if he needs me, kind of show me how the school does things and how the systems work, like
Yeah.
again for Marines, like McTims and all that
Yep.
jazz. But education side. And then he's like, I'll be in there or out of there as much as you need me and or feel comfortable.
Okay.
So I mean, I feel comfortable. I've done some observations and stuff with this in this school. So I think it'll be a good time.
Good. I'm so fucking proud of you, man. That's
I'm
awesome. That's
I'm I'm
awesome.
stoked. I'm stoked. We're about to
So,
teach some patriotism.
dude, good. And it's been a wild week for me, and I know that, and I tell the users all the time on Facebook, like, hey, I'm sorry, we don't have as much time. Matt's been doing all of his tests, to get certified.
Oh yeah,
I've
yeah, I passed
I've
my
been busy with
content
work.
test.
I
So
know, dude. That's awesome,
I'm
right?
certified to teach history.
And I've been busy with work. I've been busy with vacations, kids softball coaching this season. Like I've been swamped, and we have not had as much time as I would have liked for us to come back here and circle the wagons and do history. But for our listeners out there, like we are still doing this. We just have not nearly had as much time. And to be honest with you, with the way that we did the Napoleon podcast, I think that we got more episodes out than what we were doing beforehand because we were shrinking it down to an hour. Make
Yeah,
it digestible for your drive to work is what we were trying to do.
yeah. And
Um,
then we're I don't know, we're probably gonna start every episode with a well, life's been kind of busy.
oh
But
yeah,
I
dude.
mean, this
And
is just fun for us at the end of the day. Like,
yeah,
why
yeah,
add to the
it's not
stress
a
load?
job. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not a job. I text Matt on Wednesday and I was like, hey, we're kind of slacking, bud. And he's like, you want to do one on Sunday? I was like, we'll do one on Sunday. But I've been busy with the VFW too, dude. I've had state conventions. I was at the Washington Fair all week this week doing information officer thing, which is funny. Um, Apparently my commander just texted us and he was like, we had some lady come up and talk to us about profanity being used around the VFW booth last night
Oh
with
no,
kids
who
walking
would
by.
ever?
So, and I told him straight up, I was like, well, I can tell you right now, as somebody who works in as a manager in retail, it wasn't me because I know how to turn it off. It wasn't any of the other VFW members. So let me do you a favor, Karen. Next year, I'll get up on stage on Wednesday night. I'll take time out of my day and I'll tell the fairgoers not to use profanity for you and your
Yep.
kids. I'll do that.
Yeah, I'll do that for you.
I love humanity, and at the same time, sometimes I despise humanity.
Oh yeah. It's such a give and take. Like the good feels so good. It's like, wow, that's really refreshing. And then you're
Yep.
like, man, you're just a turd. Like all
Mhm.
around turd.
Yeah, yeah. I just thought it was funny that some lady came up bitching about people around town cursing as they were talking to the veterans, the people who've been through combat and done all that. And I'm like, okay, lady.
I'll drink to
But
that, brother.
I will drink that. And what I am drinking, speaking of which,
Hmm.
is a bottle of small batch Frank August. Really cool bottle.
Dude, that
Really
is a
good
really cool
drink.
bottle.
It's very smooth. It has its whole like gold stopper and
Oh,
everything like that.
sweet.
But it's really good, dude. It's 100 proof, but it comes out of Kentucky, like most bourbons do. But it is a straight bourbon. It's not a bourbon whiskey, so this is a straight out of Kentucky straight bourbon. So it's a pretty good
Dude,
drink.
sweet. I
You can find it
I'm
at your local dirt cheap.
I'm drinking the Worcestershire. The
Oh, you got more of it?
No, I'm finishing off the bottle
Okay.
because I started drinking it on an episode pretty much a year ago today.
Yeah, I know.
So
I
I
had the
figured
small
why
bottles you
not?
got me.
I was like, why not just
Yeah, as a matter of fact, the small bottle you got me, you can't see it in the frame right now because it's too high. But the small bottle you got me is still up there on my bourbon rack.
we got to break that out sometime.
No, I've already drank it.
Oh,
Me and you drank it. Yeah, we drank it together.
that sounds like us.
Yeah, it sounds like you forgot how
I
much we
don't
drank that night.
I don't remember, but that does sound like us.
Yep, but I am starting a fresh start as well, life wise.
Sweet.
Um, I am only drinking now on the weekends unless we have a podcast during the week. So Monday through Friday is no alcohol consumption, straight workout and water.
Look at you go.
Yep, yep.
Look at
Trying
you.
to
I'm
trying to
proud of
stay
you.
here for the kids. You know what I'm saying?
I do know what you're
Yep,
saying.
yep. But
um,
I did the American Legion post the mid what was it? It was mid South tournament today, which is like their championship, right? To go to nationals. And I threw out the first pitch for him. I still got it. It was a strike on the left hand corner of the plate.
of
Sorry,
course it
right hand
was.
corner of the plate. Yep. Still got it, baby. Went up there and did the here's our veteran for the day, you know. But
Look at
it
this
was a good
crusty
time.
old bastard.
Yeah, it was a good time. It was a good time.
Well,
But yeah,
I
I
guess
guess go ahead.
getting into it, yeah, like this isn't going to be like one of our more put together episodes, you know.
Nope, this is a shot in the
We
dark.
we just got to talking one day at your house, having a few over the grill like we usually do,
Yep.
and we just got to talking. Like, man, maybe we're too structured. Maybe we just have to get on Zoom and just talk about history like we would do whenever we'd normally just shoot the shit at your house. Because
Yeah,
that's
dude.
some good content. I wish we could just slap GoPros on your back patio and just
Dude.
catch half the stuff we say.
Yeah, but with that being said, too, for the listeners, like that does not mean that we're going to stop doing like frameworked videos or frameworked episodes. But this episode is just kind of us talking generally about history, about things that we want to talk about. And there's going to be mid-episode research. And the point of us doing this, and we're kind of proving a point, is that we're going to find sources on JSTOR, on Google, on things like, and when I say Google, I mean like Google Scholar. We're going to
Yes,
find
not
things.
Wikipedia.
Yeah, not Wikipedia, like Google
Dude,
Scholar.
it blows my mind when I'm like listening to a YouTube video and they're debating some sort of topic, right? And they'll just be like, I don't know, Google it. Like Wikipedia's got a whole thing about it. And I'm just like,
Yeah,
does that make you feel like you actually know something? Or just like wouldn't since when did
dude.
Wikipedia not become a joke?
Wikipedia is user input. Like, I don't know. I mean, and no, don't get me wrong. I've looked through, as somebody who is well researched, I have looked through Wikipedia on several topics. And was that information correct? Yes, but
Yeah,
it is
big but.
adapted and input by users. So there's no peer research behind it. Whereas the sources that we go to do have that peer research and things like that behind it.
A perfect example of this is after every fat electrician video, if you
Yep.
go to the Wikipedia page about whoever he covered, it will have certain quips that are like just from his videos, like
Yep.
things that will be highlighted that you can obviously tell fans of his went to the Wikipedia page and actually added it. And the
Yep.
biggest thing I think about that is like, yeah, it's true because he researched it. However, the people adding it to the Wikipedia page did not research it and they just listened to the guy on YouTube.
Now, with that being said, most of it is true. And I will tell you that the fat electrician, as much as I love him, I will tell you that a big shtick for him is storytelling, right? And
Oh
he's
yeah.
another veteran. He's another veteran as well. So love the dude already. But there is a portion of his that is storytelling. And I'm going to talk about a character today just for a little bit. And you'll see kind of where history actually is. Sorry, my camera is fucking I need to bring my camera over here, where history actually is, and then where you kind of run into like where he's doing things for storytelling because it makes the story more interesting. So I do understand that, but the timelines and how it happened aren't necessarily correct.
Yeah. Yeah. And he's got such a way of making things like grandeur, like has a grandeur about the
Hmm.
story. So
Yep.
he'll give factual numbers, but the way it's brought up is like very veteran-esque. Like
Yes. A- And again, I'm not
which is
taking anything
great.
away from
No, like
yes,
it's very entertaining and it gets the point across and history's
dude.
cool.
I fall asleep watching Fat Electrician probably 3 times a week. I love that dude. But as a history major as well, and I know he's a big history buff as well. There are things that I pick up and like, that's not how that happened. And I'll tell you this, and this is, I'm just gonna go right into it because this is what
Yeah,
this episode's
no, let's
about.
do it.
When you look at the Cassius Marcellus Clay episode, right?
Hmm.
And he's talking about the most badass abolitionists ever. He talks about how some of the things went down. One of the biggest ones actually is with um, the Brown assassination, right?
Is
So
that the one in the
Sam
Cove?
Sam Brown, yes, it's
Yeah.
in the Cove, but he puts in and I have the exact quote actually from the thing. Okay, so what he would do is he would come into the rally and he would hold up the U.S. Constitution and he would say, "For those who support the laws of our country, I have this argument." And Clay would lay down the United States Constitution on the table, right?
Hmm.
And then he said, "For those who believe in the Bible, I have an argument from this," and he would lay the Bible on the table. And then he would say, "And for those who regard neither the laws of God or of man, I have this argument." And he would open his coat and he would take his two long pistols and his Bowie knife and he would set them on the same table. And it was very effective. However, this did not start until after the Sam Brown assassination attempt.
Probably because of the Sam Brown assassination
Yep.
attempt.
Yep. Now, with that being said, when you look at Fat Electrician, again, I'm not taking away from him. I don't want to make this episode about taking away from him because I love the
We
dude and I love
approve
how he
of
tells
him
stories.
and encourage you to go see
Yes.
his stuff.
Yes, I promote Fat Electrician. Please go watch his videos. But he tells that story in a way that it shows that beforehand. And this didn't happen until after the Sam Brown assassination attempt, where in which Sam Brown tried to shoot him. And if his Bowie knife was on the table, like he does in these speeches, then what would have transpired in this event would have been completely different. Because when Sam Brown tried to shoot him, it hit the scabbard of the Bowie knife that he hung around his neck. And that's what
I get
stopped the
it.
bullet.
Yep.
Yep. That's what stopped the bullet, right?
That story is still wild though.
It is.
Like,
It is. And then so the funny thing about that is that Clay would catch the bullet with his Bowie knife scabbard, and then he would stab and slice Sam Brown an excessive amount of times to where Sam Brown's from Louisiana, I believe,
excessive or proportionate.
proportionate, a proportionate amount of times. But Sam Brown's friends at this point didn't know how to stop Cassius. So what they did was they took Sam Brown as he's riddled with stab wounds and they picked him up and they threw him over a 9-foot wall down into a ravine to
Yep.
stop Cassius from stabbing him.
Dude, it is like the most crazy things. Like,
Dude,
oh, we can't get this guy to stop stabbing our friend. So
he,
the best bet is to hurl him over a wall where he rolls down a hill careening into a river.
yep,
And
yep.
that's the better option.
You know who defended him? Because there was a court case on this. Sam Brown tried to take him to court and said that the first stabbing was
Henry Clay. Henry
yeah,
Clay
his
defended him.
cousin,
Yeah.
his cousin, yeah. So he tried to argue, Sam Brown tried to argue that the first stab wound was reciprocal for him trying to shoot him. And
Everything
Henry
after that was
Clay,
just
yep,
too much.
yep. And I will quote the Fat Electrician on this. And he says it in his video. And please go watch the greatest abolitionist ever, Cassius Marcellus Clay, with Fat Electrician because it's fucking hilarious. But he says, Henry Clay comes in and goes, "Well, Your Honor, that's just standard behavior for a Kentuckian." And the judge
It
is like,
it
"Yep, case closed."
it pretty much actually did go down that way. It was a lot more eloquent, but Cassius Clay actually writes about it in his memoirs, and he's just the speech I gave was not long, and he walked out. I think it was like a day later. It was absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
Also,
And,
where the hell do you get off after you attempted to murder somebody to take them to court?
yep, yep. Well, I mean, stupid is stupid it does. I guess I have no other way to
Yeah,
explain that, but you have to be pretty dumb to, go there and try to assassinate somebody and then take them to court over,
dude.
your attempted assassination.
Speaking of assassinations, can we just talk about how crazy the Gavril Princeps and the Black Hand to start World War One was? For
I
those,
mean,
okay, so for those of you unfamiliar, Gavril Princeps was a Serbian man who was part of this coalition named the Black Hand, and they wanted Serbian independence from the Austrian-Hungary Empire.
Oh, you're talking about World War I, not World War II.
Yes, no, World War
Yep.
One.
Yes.
So the Black Hand attempted to kill Archduke Franz Ferdinand and his wife Sophie.
Yep.
Um, and the way they tried to do it was they threw a grenade. And keep in mind, this is 1914. Grenades were not what they are today. Very unreliable.
Yes.
Overthrew it and hit some people in the crowd. So those people in the crowd had to go to the hospital. All of the people in the Black Hand fled. The Archduke's car sped off. And as
Well,
they're
his
going
his
to,
security got hit though too. Some of his security got hit.
is that right?
That's why, yeah, that's why he went to the hospital. He ends up going to the hospital to see a security.
Ooh, this is where I love history because I read that he went to the hospital at his wife's behest because she wanted a good publicity stunt by the couple visiting injured civilians in Serbia.
I mean, that's good, and this is why I
Huh.
talked about it, and I opened this up with sources. Right, there's going to be several sources because even with historical sources, guess what, everybody, they are politically fueled.
What
The same
book
as
was
politics
that?
fuel everything today.
I can't get you a page number, but I can get you the book if you give me 1 second.
Oh, go ahead,
But
go ahead.
but anyway, so he ends up Gavril Princip. After this, they all took cyanide tablets, all of the Black Hand, and they all essentially died, except for Gavril Princip. His didn't work, so he got really
Yep,
sick, threw up a bunch, and I was like, "Well, shit. Now I didn't do what I was supposed to. I'm pretty much a wanted fugitive. I didn't even successfully kill myself. How am I supposed to kill this dude? I'm hungry. I'm gonna go get Subway." So dude just
yep,
goes to Subway, sits out with his $5 foot long. Sorry, it's 2025. His $15
yeah,
foot long,
yeah,
and
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and he looks out, and on the way back from the hospital, the Archduke's car gets lost and accidentally stops in front of like
Yep,
this specific
yep,
sandwich shop that the only conspirator to end his life just so happened to be eating a sandwich outside.
yep,
Driver takes a wrong turn, has to throw it in reverse. It's 1914. Manuals stall. If you don't believe me, go pick up any 17, 18-year-old kid today, throw them in a stick shift and see how well they do. This is brand new for cars. Like cars are pretty new, right?
yep,
So because this guy couldn't drive a stick shift, Gavril Princip went up and absolutely murked
yep.
the Archduke Franz Ferdinand and his wife Sophie. And I think
Yes,
that that's hilarious. Not in the sense of like human life. That's a tragedy. But it's hilarious like the coincidental things that happen
dude,
throughout
it's
history.
wild, right?
We were
So,
talking
and
about it in the last episode with the French engineers blowing a bridge too
yes,
early. Like
yep,
it was probably just one dude that we have zero idea whose name he is
yep.
responsible for Napoleon's fall. Like it's
100%. And this is the thing. There's a lot of things that, especially when it comes to hindsight, when you're looking 110 years beyond the event, right? So obviously at that point, dude, it's a terrible moment. A piece of royalty and his wife lost their lives. But when you actually dissect the history of it and you treat it not as a human element, but you treat it as a series of events, it is wild what you discover. And at times, it is absolutely humorous on how it played out because he failed, took a cyanide tablet, dude, lived through the cyanide tablet, is sitting down at a cafe,
wondering,
and the
just wondering,
Archduke and
what
his
the hell
wife.
am I going to do? What am I supposed to do now? My entire life was wrapped up in this political fury, and that all failed. All of my co conspirators are dead. Like, I'm all alone now, and I'm probably a wanted man.
Yep.
And then he just so happens to. And you know what's funny? I've never once looked into what happened to him after this.
You know
I'm
what?
sure he got arrested. I'm sure he got hanged. Like,
I don't know. So
dude, let's look it up. Yeah, I'm
I
gonna look it up.
I'm pulling it up. So for the listeners, as we do go through this episode, and this is it's kind of a test, not really a test. We're proving a point. Is that again where you see us arguing about, was he going to the hospital because the truck behind him or the vehicle behind him was hit and it was his security, or was he going to the hospital at Sophia's behest because of the fact that civilians in Serbia were injured due to the grenade. And that's the beauty of history and research. And that's kind of what we're doing right now, but we're doing research on the fly. And Matt is looking at this up as I talk. I've got my own kind of JSTOR content pulled up. For those of you that love history, JSTOR is absolutely worth the subscribe.
Yes,
You
it
basically
is.
pay like $2.99 a month, I think, and you have access to 100 historical pages per month, and it's very much worth the subscribe if you're interested in history. But we'll see what Matt has come up with. He's still searching. I see him typing.
So yes, so he did end up getting arrested. He was convicted on October 28th, 1914 of treason and murder.
Okay,
But and because of his age, he was 19, was sentenced to the maximum penalty for minors, which was 20 years. It looks like he died of tuberculosis.
in prison.
Oh yeah, Princeps developed tuberculosis, suffered from severe malnutrition. He died on 28 April 1918. Dude, he almost made it to the
He
end of
almost
the
made it through the war.
I
He almost made it
know.
through the war, dude.
The age of 23 related to tuberculosis and ring a ding ding malnutrition.
Yeah, 7 more months, he would have made it.
Yeah. Looks like there's a letter here. It's a direct statement to his prison warden as he was being moved. There's no need to carry me to another prison. My life is already ebbing away. I suggest that you nail me to a cross and burn me alive. My flaming body will be a torch to light my people on their path to freedom. All right, I just want to take a time out what he just did there. This is the historical analysis in me. Nail me to a cross and burn me alive. This dude just kicked off a war that killed more human beings in all of history up to this point,
Yep,
and he sees himself as Jesus Christ, or
yep,
at the very least, a martyr.
yep.
I wonder, like conviction that hard. How common do you think that actually is?
Dude, I will tell you, and I talked to many people about this today, especially as you with the internet and your ability to like view people, right, and
Mm-hmm.
their mindsets. I consider myself a fairly logical and reasonable person. I approach every situation with a consideration for the person on the other side of the conversation. And I also approach it in a sense where I am considering that other human being, what they've been through, and that's why I don't escalate situations.
Mm-hmm.
But the internet is wild, dude. How many times have you seen people, even nowadays, that are so convicted to whatever their belief is that they will die on that hill every day and they could be 100% wrong?
Yeah,
So I'm not surprised because the world
I'm
is fucking
not.
crazy.
Although, okay, here's another letter towards the end of his life. If I had known what tragic results there would be have been in world history, I would have thought twice about my actions. I would not today come out and defend Austria, but using assassination was not the right way to accomplish our political goals. But the war would have broken out anyway, because the system of international tensions would have made it inevitable.
So he's not wrong there.
No, he's
So
not.
and
Because
and
we
the
we
reason
were
I
actually kind of brought that up in Napoleon, not to cut
yeah,
you
we
off, and I'm
did.
so sorry.
No,
But
you're good.
how the Napoleonic Wars was kind of the beginning of the end of the whole family of European monarchs.
Yep, but you got to remember too, and this is something that I think some people forget when we're discussing World War One, is that these were all family members. They were all cousins,
Mm-hmm.
right? And the one thing that they told Germany, Wilhelm, I believe, they was still Wilhelm. Yeah, it was Wilhelm, right?
In World
No.
War One, yeah,
Yep.
yes, it was.
They basically told him, "Hey, little cousin, you don't get a piece of the imperialist pie. Like you can't go do these things that we do."
Yeah,
And he was pretty much like, "Nah, I'm gonna do those things. Like fuck you."
yeah. If you want a good book on that, it's actually the same one I was finding earlier. It's called Blood and Iron by Katja Hoyer.
Okay.
And it goes from 1871, which was when Germany confederated into its own country, through the end of World War One.
Yep.
So 1871 through 1918, called Blood and Iron because that was Bismarck's rule. He will
Yep.
achieve greatness for this
Oh,
country
von
through
Bismarck.
blood and
Yep.
yeah, through blood and iron.
Yep. And dude, it's wild. So
Very good read, very good audiobook.
World War II, I will absolutely. always pin on Germany, right? I will
Oh
always
yeah,
pin
well,
that on
and Russia.
that yes, because they started it with them in the
Yeah.
beginning of it, right? Yep. World War One.
Next time someone brings up the argument that Russians won World War II, no, remember what Russia is one of the reasons we started World War II.
Yeah, I know. But I will always argue people like to pin that same blame on Germany for World War One.
Dude, and even the people of the time that were on the Allied powers, the people of France, Britain, and America at the Treaty of Versailles, America didn't even sign the Treaty of
No,
Versailles.
they didn't because Woodrow's 14 points was opposed to what they did.
Literally, like it, the signing of the Treaty of Versailles, pretty much, which was great. Okay, this is gonna go down a rabbit hole. Okay, which is
Dude, fuck
crazy
it. That's what we're here to do.
because Woodrow Wilson going to Paris for the convention to draft up the Treaty of Versailles was actually the first time an American president spent more than a month outside of continental United States. He was over there
Yep.
for 6 months. And he got so absolutely ingrained in his. I'm going to preface everything I say with I dislike Woodrow Wilson passionately, pretty passionately. And I blame Teddy.
Yeah.
Teddy only ran. Okay. Teddy only ran because he didn't like Wilson, but it's this whole thing. Anyway, so Woodrow Wilson goes with these 14 points. America's just like, no, we can't join the League of Nations. These 14 points is bullshit. Congress has no power to declare war if we're going to be pulled into every war because we signed this treaty.
Yep.
Like it takes away congressional power, and then it just completely nullifies the Monroe Doctrine, which is what Woodrow Wilson wanted to do anyway.
Yep.
Greedy little
Yep.
shit. And then there was a massive cover up with Woodrow Wilson's health, but that's neither here nor there. He had a huge stroke and
Oh
suffered
yeah.
big bouts of depression. It's crazy. It was the first one that is documented of like a political, like presidential cover up, quote unquote.
Yep.
There's only been a couple. Reagan and his Alzheimer's, Biden's stuff going on right now, but that's alleged
Yep.
until courts and all of that finds anything.
Well, yeah, that's the thing, dude. It usually takes like 10 or 15 years for a lot of those documents to get kind of uncovered and they
Yeah.
stop,
And there's,
they take the tape off of them, you know what I mean?
yeah,
But with that being said, my argument for World War One will always be that Germany was simply trying to be what the rest of the royal families were. And the rest of those nations that have been around forever, not since 1834, but the rest of those nations that have been around forever, they were like, nah, Germany, you can't do that. We can do that, but you can't do that. And it was really a global bullying of Germany. So France and England and everybody, they asked for it. They literally fucking asked for it in World War
yeah,
One,
yeah.
right?
Well, they
And
did,
then,
and that's why Congress was so mad, is because we're like, dude, you're obviously putting the blame on Germany, and that's one thing. But then adding these harsh reparations on the back end and claiming that they're the sole reason that the war broke out, dude, I just don't buy it. And so, the American liaisons just did not stick up for the Germans at all, which I will say had a lot more humane reasons for starting the war than World War II
yep,
by a freaking mile. So I can be less mad about this. Where I don't know, I feel weird about that kind of thing. Like war started for conquest. I feel like okay, that's just normal throughout all of human history. But then when it's like wars of like evil people, like Mao, Pol
yeah, yeah.
Pot, like
So,
those
so,
all
but,
feel like sinister.
but here's my question to you.
Hit me.
Did the Treaty of Versailles set the fucking climate for an individual like Hitler to come into power? Without a doubt. Without a doubt.
It
We
just
did so much bad to those people, to that country as a whole, that we quite literally created not just not America. I'm not talking about America. I'm talking about the allied powers. We created a climate for that individual to be birthed. He was birthed before he was in World War One, but his ego and his idealism to be birthed and to flourish in that country because we created the environment that gestated it.
Yeah. No, I agree. And I also think that America kind of has a deeper part in it too, because we could have stood up more. And another reason why I think Woodrow Wilson is one of my least favorite presidents is he didn't. He got so focused in on leaving his damn legacy that he couldn't find any sort of way to be assertive. It just had to work. He was making backdoor deals. He was giving in to political pressure or sphere of influence from the Brits and from the French. And it just didn't really uphold.
Well, yeah, but what do we call that? What's the area in between World War One and World War Two called as Germany starts to rise? What do we call that for the
Oh,
European powers?
the appeasement.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, it's where now Germany's just ramping up and
Yep.
things that should technically be war worthy. England and France are just like, oh no, they couldn't possibly mean like they would never.
And it's funny in that we sit here and we have this discussion because as two historians, two people, and granted, keep in mind, neither of us are master historians. We're bachelor historians, but we just love history, so it becomes a hobby, right?
Mhm.
But for two individuals without research, without looking at dual research, the word appeasement is something that is stamped on to that 10-year, 20-year era so hard that all I have to do is ask you a question, and the first thing that comes out of your mouth is appeasement.
Oh yeah, because
You
well, I
know?
mean, dude, they were doing shit like building up the biggest military they've ever created.
Yep,
Like
yep.
it's just
They were taking countries, and they're like, "No, it's
yeah,
good, Germany. No further. Don't go any further."
yeah. And for those of you unfamiliar with the actual start of World War II, everyone here is like, oh, Germany invaded Poland on September 1st,
Nope,
1939.
nope.
Germany and the Soviet Union invaded Poland on September 1st, 1939.
Yep, yep.
And then Hitler sparked off Operation Barbarossa, what, like 3 months after that?
No, no. Barbarossa
When did
was
Barbarossa start?
it started, I think, a year later. It was a year later, I think.
Operation Barbarossa.
And the
Yeah,
reason that
June of 41. So
yeah,
18
so
months.
it was almost, dude, it was longer than that. It was because we're talking about what was it, July of 38,
September
Poland.
39.
Of 39, that's right. That's right.
Yep.
So really, they worked together for a whole 18 months. But the
Yeah.
problem was that if you look at how Germany and Russia partnered through all that, he was disgusted with how Russia did things because they were very much still doing the World War One thing where they were just throwing troops at a problem and they weren't solving it. So he was having to move troops to basically take care of what Russia was trying to do, right?
Yeah.
And that's really what sparked his kind of attack towards Russia. He's like, they're useless. I'm just going to take their country.
Dude, good thing Russia's modernized and doesn't use the attrition tactics anymore. Wink,
Oh,
wink,
you mean they
nudge,
still do in
nudge.
Ukraine? You mean they still do in
Oh,
Ukraine?
no, they would never, bro. They're so
No.
sophisticated and such a
Yeah.
world power.
Yeah, but
They would.
it's wild, and I really think it's funny too for our listeners, our whole 200 of them. But I think it's funny for our listeners to kind of get a glimpse because not many of them can travel in because many of them are Marines. Not many of them can travel in and spend these nights with you like me and you do when we grill
Mhm.
out and we just. It's funny because now they're getting a glimpse at like what happens when Matt and DJ are are
It's literally
making
this, but
ribs.
just with ribs on the smoker.
Yeah, yeah, dude. But dude, all that's wild and how it transcends. World War One created World War Two. The
And you know
Treaty of
what's crazy?
Versailles created World War Two.
The Civil War created World War One,
Yep,
and the Napoleonic Wars created World War or the Civil War.
yep,
And let's be so for real. Something that we didn't even hit on Napoleon. If Napoleon was not the consul of France at the time, hell, he might have been emperor. I have to go look. But if he had not been emperor or consul of France at the time, we might not have ever had the Louisiana Purchase
yep,
because he was using that money to bolster his armies.
yep.
That's why he sold it off.
Dude, there's
So
so
half
many
of
things.
America just like fucking it doesn't it's too much. It's too exciting.
It is, and it's funny because when you look at history, people try to like nitpick things from history, right? And be like, oh, this, oh, this. I'm like, no, dude, it's all tied together. It is a piece of linen, and every thread in that linen, every thread count is a historical event that ties it all together, which is why I always say, and you hate it, history repeats itself.
History doesn't repeat itself, but it often rhymes.
Well, however you want to spell it out, dude. I'm sorry, but it does because we as humanity, we never learn from historical events and the I guess the indicators that would tell you that this is happening again.
I think
Um,
I think we're too conscious about it at some points because obviously with the political climate of today, everyone's just like, wow, looking a lot like 1930s Germany over here. And they've said that for how long now? People
yeah, I mean,
constantly try to look for themes in history to repeat. And that's why I think that we see that history repeats itself is because if you're looking for something, you're gonna end up finding it, especially when we're using abstract concepts.
and that's fair, dude. You're one of my best friends. You know that I am absolutely opposed to politics in and of
Oh
itself.
yeah.
I don't dive into any of the modern politics, things like that, because I just don't agree with most of them. Because my aim is always humanity. Don't agree in making federal policy something that overarches and oversteps states' rights. Just because I believe that people choose to live in certain areas because of the policies in place for that area, right?
Yeah.
Now, new people will always move around, and I applaud people who move to new areas. I'm like, hey, I want to change. I want to see this. That's your right as a human being. You want to see this. Do I always agree with it? No, but I support you in the fact that you want to change something. I
Yeah.
don't agree with it, but I support your right as a human being to aim for that change, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's the
Um,
beautiful part of the Enlightenment, brother.
yep.
I freaking
It
love the Enlightenment, dude.
oh,
It's
dude.
so it's still so prevalent in society today, but
Yep.
nobody understands it. I love it. I was talking to a couple of people at work about people like Voltaire
Yep.
and Montesquieu and John Locke.
Dude,
Treaties
I
of Two
love John Locke.
Government, dude.
I still have actually it's not the treaty to government. It's the 13 treatises of government. And I have that. Hold on. I'm walking away from the computer right now. But I have this book so tabbed out and I'm going to show it for our viewers that actually get a chance to watch the YouTube. Hold on. I think this is it right here. Hold on. I know it's weird because you're listening to me talk right now, but I'm like way on the other side of the room.
That's all right. We can
No,
we'll
sorry. You are correct. It is the two treaties of government. But
do tabbed
I'm gonna
out.
Oh, dude, I'm gonna bring this into the room and I'm just gonna show it to the camera before I take it back. But you can see all of my fucking tabs on here from where I was like, oh, dude, that's beautiful. Like I'm gonna tab that. I'm gonna tab that.
Yeah, yeah, dude. I wrote quite a few papers this last semester and I brought the Enlightenment into it. And it was entirely like I took two US history courses. So one to 1877 and then which do you think that that's a good year to cut off when we consider Reconstruction over?
No, I don't think 1877. I would honestly say I'd take 1898.
Or what
And
event makes you want to cut it off in 98 though?
I think, and I will correct this in a second because hold on, I am going to take a piss. But I think 1898 is the Brown case.
Brown v. Ford?
It should
Like
be yeah, Brown versus Board of Education. Yes, I think it's not.
yeah,
I think
no,
it's
that
1898.
that's 1950. 1896 is Plessy versus Ferguson. 18 or
That's what I'm thinking. It's Plessy
1952.
versus Ferguson.
Yeah, that's the separate but equal. That's what Brown v.
Yes.
Board of Education repealed.
Yes, I'm sorry. So Plessy versus Ferguson. So that's why I would take it out to 1896, not 1898. I apologize. I was 2 years early or 2 years late. Sorry.
And better late than never. But yes, Plessy v. Ferguson. If you don't know, that's the one that pretty much upheld the constitutionality of racial segregation under the separate but equal doctrine. So it pretty much ruled that it doesn't violate the 14th Amendment because they're not denied any access to modes of venue. So think like bathrooms, that's or water fountains. They're not denied water fountains. They just use a separate one.
Yep.
So that's what upheld the separate but equal. Obviously, that's not equality. Um,
No, and that's honestly what brought us to the Brown versus the Board of Education.
and
Texas is where that started, actually.
and that's just another example. President Eisenhower activated the troops in Alabama, Arkansas.
It was
I think
Arkansas.
it was Alabama. Was it
No, it was
Arkansas?
Arkansas. It was Arkansas. I guarantee you. Look it up.
I'm looking it up. Don't worry.
But so while he's looking that up,
It was Little Rock. Yeah, obviously.
yep, Little Rock, Arkansas. So
And Little
and
Rock
the
9.
yes. So the thing for me, as you look beyond the Plessy versus Ferguson, and why I say kind of for me that is like the end of Reconstruction, is because beyond that, I believe is when you start to kind of move in mode towards the civil rights movement, right? And actually looking at human beings
Oh,
as human beings.
but wouldn't the end of the civil rights movement technically be the end of Reconstruction? Because that the end of the civil rights movement was the end goal of what Reconstruction set out to be. Wouldn't you think?
Well, I mean, I think that there is merit to your argument. What I would argue
It's not my
is
argument. It's
that,
just
well,
it's just
I
feels
know,
like
I
it's
know,
just an assertion.
I get it. I'm
Devil's
using argument.
advocate. Yep.
I'm using argument as a conversation piece here, right? I would argue that Reconstruction was a phase beyond antebellum slavery, where in which I feel like certain demographics were trying to get back to a form of slavery, right?
Yes.
So I would argue that there is a gap between Reconstruction and civil rights because I think civil rights was an awakening, where in
That
which
makes sense.
we actually started to no shit not sit down and fight for the rights of human beings in this country.
I can see it.
You know, and I talk to my buddy Ron all the time. Ron is one of my platoon sergeants who retired as a master guns in the Marine Corps. But me and him talk all the time about where we got to, you know, abolitionism, where we got to civil rights, things like that. And I think what we fail to see sometimes as a population is that it goes back to often what I say with my kids is it takes a village, right?
Oh yeah.
We would not have gotten to where we were with civil rights or abolitionism had it not been for white Americans that supported that cause. Because the reality of it is, and I have, and you do as well, uh, so many black brothers and sisters that we served with that
Yeah.
could have been possibly subject to this lifestyle had really privileged white Americans not stood up and said, "Hey, this is wrong." You know, Cassius Marcellus Clay, we already talked about him. Dude, this
John
dude was
Brown.
rich. Yep. Yep.
John Brown. I love John Brown.
Dude, Cassius Marcellus Clay was rich. His dad had one of
Oh
the
yeah.
largest slave holdings in
In
Kentucky.
Kentucky. Yeah.
And he sold them, he basically sold them
What
all to
did it come
freedom.
out to? Like 5 million modern
Oh
USD
my God, it's large. I've got it in my
in
paper.
property value.
Yeah, I've got it in
So
my
when
paper.
yeah, when looking back at slavery, bear in mind that the biggest argument to keep slavery was it infringed upon the inalienable rights of life, limb, and property, or not life, limb, life, liberty, and property, as laid out by John Locke, not Thomas Jefferson.
Yep.
As you know, Thomas Jefferson said life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. John Locke said life, liberty, and property, the right to own property. And they considered slaves property that had a
Yep.
certain value.
Yep.
Which that's why they were saying you can't take slavery away because that goes against our human rights, which is a
Yeah.
crazy argument to
Yeah.
make.
When we're talking about human beings, dude,
Literally crazy argument to make.
and the perspective of people, you know, from then to now is fucking wild to me. When you
John
talk
C.
about,
Calhoun doesn't get enough hate in history.
dude, dude, to say that it takes away your human rights when you are
Crazy.
controlling other human beings, dude, the in 1845, the estimated value of slaves in just Kentucky alone, where Cassius Marcellus Clay was at, was 52,372,139.
Yeah, see, that's crazy.
That's wild. That is the property that you're claiming is human beings.
So here you go. This is from the Cornerstone speech from Alexander H. Stevens. He gave it on March 21st, 1861. Now, this man was a United States senator who seceded with South Carolina and became the vice president of them traitor bastards in the Confederacy. And for anyone who tries to argue that the Civil War was not about slavery and it was actually about states' rights, you're wrong, and here's why. The new Constitution has put at rest forever all the agitating questions relating to our peculiar institution, i.e., African slavery. African slavery, as it exists among us, the proper status of the Negro in our form of civilization. This was the immediate cause of the late rupture and the present revolution. Jefferson, in his forecast, had anticipated this as the rock upon which the old Union would split, and he was right. What the conjecture with him is now a realized fact, but whether he fully comprehended the great truth upon which that rock stood and stands may be doubted. Dude just said Thomas Jefferson didn't have it all down. It's crazy. So that's just kind of like if you that's the vice president of the Confederacy.
Yep.
He's just straight up said this was the immediate cause for the late rupture and the present revolution. The agitating question about they always call it the peculiar institution.
Yeah.
Such a peculiar institution.
Yeah.
And you got John C. Calhoun that's saying not only is slavery not a negative bad or a negative evil, but it's a positive good. And I'm like, dude, you're out there.
Well, it's funny, and I'm not a real big fan of economics. I'm not, and I never will be. I'm just not. I don't like numbers, dude. But
I like them when they
they're
relate to history and like political
yes,
history.
yes. Cassius Marcellus Clay actually made the argument that the existence of slaves actually brings down the wages for poor whites, and he was right. He was
I
right.
mean, it kind of makes sense. If you have all of this free labor and then you have certain paid jobs, there's no baseline of what
Yep.
those paid jobs actually is. Pay them whatever you want. There's only a couple of them. So someone's going to accept them because they need the money anyway.
Yep. And he honestly, he got that from William Lloyd Garrison.
Oh,
William
yeah.
Lloyd Garrison is the one that owned the printing press, and he was pretty much the genius of universal emancipation,
Yeah.
right?
He was the most outspoken.
Yep.
Um,
Yep. He had the Liberator.
D-
That was
D-
his
D-
newspaper.
yep. And Daniel Webster was also very
Yep.
outspoken. Oh, Lafayette. If
Yes.
we want to go back far enough, actually, Lafayette, when he
Your
came back
hero.
to him,
Your hero. Your
dude, I
your.
fucking love that dude. Napoleon's cool and all, but Lafayette's my fucking boy.
I know.
And you know
I know.
what? He's America's boy too. You know
He
why?
is.
You know why? Because America remembers its heroes. And
Yep.
whenever we made it to Paris in World War One, Colonel, I'm gonna look his name up here,
Was it
but
Pershing?
no, it
No,
wasn't
it was
Pershing.
General Pershing. It was General Pershing at the time. Again, everybody,
All
this
right,
is why I love history.
yeah. When Colonel Charles Stanton came to Paris in 1917 on July 4th, they the Parisians gave us a parade because it's 1917. We took over Paris again. It's all honky dory. We're good. And America finally made its way to the end of this parade. And the end of the parade was at the tomb of the Marquis de Lafayette. And Colonel Charles Stanton said, Lafayette, we are here.
Dude, I love it. I
Dude,
love it, man.
yes. Oh, here's a cool little clip underneath that. Well, often mistakenly attributed to General Pershing.
Yep. Well, and that's the thing, right? And I know that I'm a nerd for history, and I know that I'm passionate about it, but it's little moments like that.
With humanity in it.
Dude, I love the humanities. I love the art. I love the music. I love the intrinsic things that come with us as humanity that make us who we are. Because that's what makes us different, right? Is putting all of your feelings and all this hidden story into a painting or into a musical score or into a book, things like that. That's what makes us humanity, is our ability to hide art in everything that we do. And I told you earlier, Raina just got her first violin,
Hmm.
and it's a violin from Germany between 1930 and 1950. That's huge for me because you look at this wooden instrument with just strings. It's just a piece of wood with strings. But who played that before?
Dude, who knows? Anybody.
You know, when that violin was made in Germany, if it we'll just say 1930, in the midst of the Treaty of Versailles, as Germany's trying to repay back all this
Money that
restitution.
they don't have.
Yep. Who played that violin, dude? Who sat there in Germany
Played
and
a
played that
violin.
violin? And how did it get here?
Dude, that's kind of, I had a talk with somebody at work the other day like that, where I brought in some of my coins because I'd been talking about them. And I said, man, this one's
Yep.
from 217 BC. I said, who did this buy? What did this buy? And
Yep.
I mean that. Who did this buy?
Yep.
What did this buy? Because this coin is over 2,000 years old.
Yep.
How many hands has it been in?
Yep.
How did it get to America?
Yeah. Exactly.
It's Roman, it's Scythian, it's Dutch from India. Like we've got coins from all over, and they're just somehow in Illinois, bro. Sorry about it.
Dude, I oftentimes wish I had the ability to hold an object and just be able to see its entire history.
Dude, that also just makes me think of all of those videos of the guys in helicopters going over the ocean. And they would just
Yep.
throw a rock out there and be like, "I'm the last person that's ever going to touch this rock."
Yep.
Just throws it
Dude.
off the bat.
Yeah, dude, it's wild, man. And it's again why I love history because it's a beautiful thing. You go through all of this, you go through, the history of an object, and it's stupid, but like I was looking at European architecture today, right? And looking at some of the buildings that are those buildings that come off to like the point, right? And there's the storefronts on the point. I'm like, man, that's wild. Like that's beautiful. Like you just have the entire storefront and what you want to display on the convex of this building that is the intersection of two streets.
Yeah.
And dude, it's beautiful to me. And it's because those are human hands that
And
have touched that.
something that this is going to sound so not connected, but I'm going to try to connect it.
No, we'll do it.
It kind of makes me sad in today's society that we don't appreciate delayed gratification. Let me get to the reasoning. The Leaning Tower of Pisa took 200 years to build. Who lives to be 200? Not a single swinging dick that was alive to start that project got to see it at the end, but we did it anyway. There's something to be said about that. The Gothic cathedral and yep, here we go again.
Yep. The effects of bourbon, ladies and gentlemen, the effects of bourbon.
And in Cologne
Yep.
took how long? How long to build? 632 motherfucking years.
Yep.
Your great, 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 great grandfather probably
Yep.
started that.
Yep.
It started to be built in 1248 and was completed 15 years after the American Civil War was over in 1880. Do you know how many crusades took off in the
Yep.
meantime?
Yep.
All right. Hey, here's a historical debate. Crusades, necessary or nah? And while you think about this, I'm gonna get a drink.
Oh, you're taking your headset off. I'm not going to think about it that long. Now Matt's walking away from the computer with no headset on because he has this plugged in because he's a goddamn pleb and he doesn't have a Bluetooth one. With that being said, I'm not going to dive in to the actual discussion of the Crusades and whether they were necessary or not until his dumbass gets back here with his drink, which here he comes.
All right, what I
And
miss?
ladies and gentlemen, he has his headset back. Well, you didn't miss anything because I told our listeners that I wasn't going to discuss this until your ass got back. Now,
Ah,
with that being said, Crusades necessary or not? On the level of humanities, this takes a fork in the road. And I say this takes a fork in the road because I would say no because of the loss of human life, but I would also say yes because of the transference of culture.
I'm gonna have the complete opposite take of you.
Okay.
I'm gonna say yes because the Islamic Caliphate was encroaching for nearly 600 years on Christian land.
Okay.
400-ish years.
Yep.
So they had been beaten back. The Christendom had been beaten back pretty good for the 400 years. And how far would the Islamic Caliphate take it, given their history? Let's just play speculative historian. Do you think they would have stopped?
I
No.
mean, no.
So the Crusades not only saved Christendom, but wouldn't you say that it also saved Europe?
I would say that it placated Europe as what Europe is. And you look at World War One, who was Germany's ally?
The Ottomans.
Yep. Which had tied in all of the Middle East into one nation.
Yeah.
It was after World War One that we divided the Ottoman Empire into what we know now as the Middle East.
Yeah. Well, they shouldn't have picked the losing team.
The Ottomans were way out of their class. The
Oh
Ottomans were
yeah,
already
they
they were
were a
already a
secondary power with
yep,
a lineage at that point,
yep. They were a waning legacy at that point.
which is crazy because I was listening to a podcast. Man, we were jumping all over the place today.
That's good. That's what we're here to
That's
do.
fine. I was listening to a podcast and it was imagine being somebody because it was about the Bronze Age collapse. Because this kind of goes into my next little bit.
Yep.
The Sea People. It goes into the Bronze Age collapse, which for those of you who don't know, at the end of the Bronze Age, think like the movie Troy, Homer, the
Yep.
Iliad, Odyssey. That's the end of
Dude,
the
I
Bronze
love
Age.
Homer. I did a whole
Dude,
paper on
hold on.
Homer's
Here,
ass.
hold on. I gotta show you this.
Okay. He's going to get something from his room. Is that the Iliad?
Okay,
Is that
so
is that a gold framed Iliad?
yes, Iliad and
Oh
Odyssey.
my God, dude.
Dude, Lily got it for me just for no reason. Dude, it's beautiful.
Dude, that is awesome.
Yeah,
Lily's a
it's
keeper. Marry her.
dude, dude, it's beautiful. Like it's perfect.
Yeah.
I'm all about it.
Dude, that's badass.
The thick boy
That is
too.
badass.
Yeah, I love it. It's been what I've been reading in bed at night.
Good.
It's a great story too. People don't give it like the movie is cool, but the movie of Troy is totally half, not even half. I would say it's probably about 35% of what's in the Iliad and the Odyssey.
Well, no, the movie of Troy is
Great movie, by the way.
it is, but that dude, that's literally only I would say that's probably a quarter, not even that's an eighth of what the Iliad and the Odyssey is about.
Yeah, I would give it to you too, especially because they didn't go into the gods. You know, Apollo
Yep.
being for not Macedonians, Mycenaeans, or the Greeks, I guess is the better way to put it. And you know, Poseidon being for the Trojans and all this other stuff. I'm pretty sure Aphrodite carried a spear that killed Hector, but I could 100% be wrong about that.
Yeah, so I'm looking right now, and it's funny because I just literally did. I think it was in my intro to mythology. My paper was on the Iliad and the Odyssey. Hold on.
Because the movie Troy, the Trojan horse is only like 35% of the way through. And
Yes.
it doesn't go over Odysseus trying to go back. Odysseus is a fucking troll, bro. Like
Yes.
that dude is like the king of Ithaca. He's the king of
Yes.
Ithaca, this island off of Greece. And two soldiers come up to him at the behest of Agamemnon, the king of Mycenae,
Yes.
And Odysseus just pretty much goes like, I don't know that guy. I'm a crazy naked man just sitting out in the thicket. Like,
Yep.
I don't know him because he was trying to act all crazy so he didn't have to go. And
Yep.
then later he was just playing the I didn't hear you game that a lot of people play with the police these days.
Yes. Yep.
They just act like they can't hear what the cops are saying, but Odysseus was just acting like he couldn't hear what the Aegeans were saying and was
Yep.
plowing his field. And the only way that they got him to stop just plowing his field was to put his newborn son underneath his plow to get him to stop.
Yep.
Thinking
Yep.
that, okay, if he's crazy, he's just going to kill his son. If he's not crazy and faking it, he's not going to kill his son. And because he
Yep.
didn't kill his son, he had to go on like a 15-year fucking adventure.
Yep. Well, it became a 15-year adventure because
Yeah.
of what happened
Yeah.
following the Battle of Troy.
Yep.
And no, I apologize. I did my paper on Gilgamesh. Uh,
Also, Epic of Gilgamesh, great.
oh, dude,
What do you
one of the oldest stories that
what do you think
we as humanity have recorded.
what do you think about the conspiracy theory to that the reason we invaded Iraq was to take Gilgamesh's body out of Iraq?
I don't agree with it at all. I think it's
Okay,
stupid.
I don't either, but I just
No,
I've
I think
never
it's
been to
stupid.
Iraq. You're the
Well,
Iraq
so
guy between us.
yeah, but Gilgamesh, Mesopotamia, that's modern day Iraq, Babylonia, the cradle of the earth, if you will. We literally recognize that as the cradle of the earth.
The
I
Fertile
don't know.
Crescent.
Yeah, I don't know that I necessarily agree with that statement. I think that's more of a religious standpoint than it is a historical standpoint. And Matt knows. Matt is highly religious. I am
I'm not
not.
highly religious. I just have a personal relationship with my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ.
Yes, that's fair. Matt knows. Matt knows that I am spiritual. I am not religious.
Very well.
I mean, it's fine. It's
No,
whatever.
it's but so you're just saying that the Gilgamesh thing is just religious, being a religious pundit kind of thing.
Well,
That's the conspiracy theory.
the funny thing about Gilgamesh
I mean, you wrote the paper
is,
on it. Now I'm just trying to get some info out of you.
oh no, you're good. I mean, the funny thing about Gilgamesh in Mesopotamia is that we consider that the cradle of Earth, but I only think that we consider that the cradle of civilization because of the Abrahamic religions.
I mean, that's fair, but it's
I don't,
also like it's hard to not think that it's the cradle of like civilization because that is where we have like the first archaeological finds that predate everything and the first like written
yeah, but how much of
manuscripts.
Africa is undiscovered?
And that's fair, but I mean that's why we think it is because we can say, yeah, we found cuneiform tablets from fuck all, I don't even know how long ago. When were the first
I
cuneiform?
look it up because I don't know the answer to that one, buddy. And I'm not gonna sit here on our podcast, which is sourced, and try to make some shit up.
I know, right? What are the oldest cuneiform tablets? According to the Library of Congress, the oldest cuneiform tablet dates back to around 3200 BC, originating in ancient Sumer, present day Iraq. Sorry,
Yep,
Iraq.
yep.
The early
And
tablets,
again,
yeah,
I agree with you. That's the earliest that we can find. What I would tell you is that what I put Gilgamesh against was actually who did I put it against? It was
did you
hold on, I'll
compare
tell
them to
you.
somebody?
Yes, I did. I did theories of
Is it,
archetypes. Yep.
are you looking for like the Christian equivalent or
No, it was not the Christian equivalent. It was actually an African equivalent, and it was Mbaku, I think. Hold on.
Baku?
I have the book. Actually, I have the No Shit Myth in book form in my library right now. It was because it was about the hero archetype is what I did my book about or my paper about. Must be Gilgamesh.
Mbaku and Gilgamesh. Huh.
Hold on, I'll tell you. I might be
Yeah.
wrong on that one. I'm looking for it right now, but the problem is that I'm trying to dive through a paper. So for humanities, we don't do the normal thesis like we do in at least for this class. We didn't do the normal thesis like we do for history, where it's like right up front and you hear both arguments. So I'm looking for, and I could just easily go look at my bookshelf, but I'm not doing that because I'm lazy.
All right. Well, while you're looking on that, I'm gonna go on a tirade about the sea people.
In Window was the epic from Africa, which is just as ancient as Gilgamesh.
In window?
Yep. Mwindo.
Oh, I get to learn
So
from the
this is
Congo.
yep, from the Congo, exactly. And that's my argument, is that how unexplored is the Congo?
I don't know. Ask King Leopold II.
It's very unexplored. I'll tell you that. It's very unexplored. But that's my argument,
Huh.
right? Is that we talk about Iraq being the cradle of civilization, but there is so much out there that is undiscovered. Even the ocean, dude. Look at how
Oh,
much the ocean level has risen just from what we have in recorded history to now. What civilizations are underwater, dude? Was the Earth
no,
really
like
always
actually,
70% water? Was the Earth
I
always 70% water?
I think that we haven't lost or gained any water. I just think it's been in different forms at
Yeah,
different
you're right.
stages.
You're right. It's been an ice.
Yeah,
So when you look
ice
at the
or
land
extra
mass,
extra clouds
yep,
or
yep. So that's kind of what I mean at history wise. When you talk about where is the cradle of civilization, is where was the land masses? Because if you're talking about solidified water, you're talking about more land mass than what we consider now.
dude. And then you kind of have to think of like, man, I just lost it. I
Find it back.
had something,
Find it back. Find it back.
man.
Because even in Italy right now, we know around the
Oh,
islands in Italy, things like that, is that there are civilizations underwater.
yeah, a great way to put this to, I guess, a more modern time or just deviate from history, but a subsection of history and archaeology. You know how many dinosaurs are actually being discovered within the last like 5 years?
Dude, do you want to know something fucking crazy? And this is stupid, but
All
this
right,
is like
hit
I'm
it.
gonna bring this up. Do you know that the fucking brontosaurus is not a fucking dinosaur?
No, it's a theropod.
Well, yeah, apotamus is what it was, and we confuse it as a new dinosaur. Yeah, yeah,
Huh.
brontosaurus doesn't exist.
Dude, what's your favorite dinosaur?
Mine,
Yeah,
probably Triceratops.
solid. Dilophosaurus, myself personally.
Yep,
Even
Triceratops is
though
probably
even
mine.
though they didn't have the little flanges that shake out and shoot spit, venomous spit,
Yep, yep,
they don't do that, but they were actually about double the size that they were in Jurassic Park.
yes,
So
yes,
I was
almost the size of a
out,
raptor.
dude. I was, it depends on the raptor because actually velociraptors are only about the size of a chicken. An oviraptor is what we think of when we think of velociraptors, or a Utah raptor, excuse me. Sorry for
Yes,
my science dinosaur nerds in the history podcast audience.
I mean it's still history.
It
It's
is
still
history.
history.
Actually, I love dinosaurs. I think the history behind them is really cool.
But
Man,
to be honest with you, and I'm not gonna get into religious beliefs here, but as far as religious beliefs and the concept of what we know as the Abrahamic religions, it kind of denies that
oh,
existence.
I would disagree.
I mean, that's fine. We're not gonna get into that tonight. We're not gonna get into
Oh,
that
I
tonight.
can. I mean, here's the whole premise of my argument: is it doesn't say what animals were in the garden. It doesn't say anything. It also doesn't say anything in between what happens in verse 1 and 2 of Genesis.
It it,
So,
it
it,
doesn't, but it also
what
does
is
not discuss.
what is a day? Because we have all of the creatures. All of the creatures are created before man, right?
Yes,
So who's to say what all those creatures were? Leviathan, Behemoth. Those are said in Leviticus. Like I said, that's just the general proposition of my thesis: is that
I mean
dinosaurs do not denounce for Abrahamic religions because
you're good, but so my argument, and you know me, I'm very spiritual because what's the one thing that science says never dies?
science says
What
never dies.
Yeah, what is the one thing that science says never dies? What can you never kill?
Dude, hit me with
E-
it.
Energy,
Oh, okay. I was like, it's like
right?
memories. Are
No,
we getting sentimental
no,
here?
no,
Okay.
energy. Energy is the one thing that never dies. What is the human body made of?
I would say it's my soul.
Well, yeah, but your soul is energy.
Yeah, no, I would agree.
Yep. So my belief is more along the lines of Gaia.
Okay.
We all return to the earth and our energy never dies. We just become a part of the cycle of life,
You know,
right?
that's pretty philosophical.
I I mean, yes, I do love philosophy. I
Dude,
do.
I love philosophy.
Dude, philosophy is beautiful. The
It
only thing
is.
that fucks me up with philosophy is it's like taking a road trip with my kids, and every other question is why.
Dude. And not only that, but one thing I love about philosophers, especially the old ones, and we're coming up on when we said we would draw our time
I
limit.
know, I
So
know, I know,
we're
I
gonna
know.
we're gonna be closing it out here soon.
Yep,
But one thing I love about philosophy is they'll just be like, oh, yes, these are naturally God gifted, inalienable rights, and the government is designed to protect those inalienable rights that we can't see but have been endowed upon us because we are humans and superior. Also, we're better people because we live in a better climate. People who don't live in the Mediterranean climate are actually less than philosophically because they're too hot or too cold.
yep,
Their soul energy is too hot or cold. So, because they live in Asia, like they're less
yep.
than because their
Which is
soul is
which is
too
how we end
cold.
up with a story like Game of Thrones.
Yeah, but it's like they're really profound and they really do set out to seek like truth and wisdom and beauty and rationalize everything. And sometimes it
Dude,
just leads to souls being cold.
that's a beautiful way to kind of lead to a capstone to this because you know me as a historian, the one thing I do love is humanities, right? What we as human beings pour into this historical journey that we're talking about. And you look at things like Game of Thrones, look at the Starks. What are they regarded as? Cold,
Yeah,
vicious.
the North,
Yep.
Canada,
Yep. Their souls are cold.
less
Their
than
souls are
to the
yep.
Lannisters
Yep.
because they're
The land
barbarians, right?
yep. And the
Holy shit, are we?
Lannisters are
All right, all right. One last, two last questions for you. Genghis Khan or Attila the Hun? Who do you think messed up world history more or impacted? Not messed up, impacted.
so as somebody who has taken a lot of time to study modern China,
Yes.
I would honestly say Attila the Hun. But Attila the Hun could not exist without Genghis Khan because that is where you kind of do a takeover of the Han dynasty in
Mm-hmm.
China, and then you start to weigh more into the Han dynasty,
The
right?
Mongols.
Yep, and the Mongols.
I would recommend this to you. It's actually not even that,
Dude, I
but
would read the fuck out of it. I would read
it's
the fuck out
Genghis
of it.
Khan and the Making of the Modern World by Jack Weatherford.
Yep,
Highly recommend. Great, short, down and dirty to Genghis Khan, his whole lineage, Kublai Khan, taking over the China dynasty. All right, and the second one, we all love Abraham Lincoln, right? But where would you rate Andrew Johnson as a president? Lincoln's successor, the
oof.
first president to be impeached or attempted to be impeached.
So let's say we're at 47 now. Where would I rank Andrew Johnson out of 47?
Well, 45. Grover
Oh yeah, because
Cleveland and Trump
double.
got elected on two
Yep,
separate. Yep.
yep. So I would say out of 45, I would rank him 39.
Okay. That's higher than
And,
I
and
expected.
well, the reason I say that is because there's a bunch of like, dude, like hit or miss ones in there where I'm like 4 years,
Or
like
like
who the
lame
fuck are
ducks
you?
or like
Yeah,
William Henry Harrison.
yeah. I'm like,
I
who the
died.
fuck are
He
you, dude?
died.
Like I
He died in
didn't.
31 days.
Yeah, I was like, I don't even know who you are, dude. So with that being said, and the reason I rank him so low is because Abraham Lincoln had a vision for Reconstruction, and after his death, we went right back to the same old ways.
Yeah, yeah, especially with like
40 acres and
they
a mule being repealed.
well, okay, so actually that's a really cool thing that you bring up. 40 acres and a mule was never actually any sort of legislation. What it was it was a part of a general order from William Tecumseh Sherman in Georgia.
Yep.
So he was confiscating a lot of this land because he had decided, okay, so for those who don't know, when Sherman's march to the sea, him going through Georgia and South Carolina,
Ladies and
he
gentlemen, hold on. I'm gonna pause Matt for a second. This is why I love Matt, because Matt is taking a lot of time to study the Civil War.
dude, I love the Civil War. In Sherman's march to the sea, when he goes through Georgia, pushed through Savannah, he declares total war. So before 1864, we had been fighting armies, but like we've been letting the Confederates, yeah, we've been taking some of their stuff, but we're not burning it down. We're not like completely raping and pillaging and like leaving destruction in our wake. Sherman starts to do that because he realizes that they need to do that to capture Savannah and finally start putting the Confederates on their knees where they belong. And so he was capturing so much land, taking so many prisoners, and freeing so many slaves that to put them to work, because Sherman was a devout racist and he didn't want them anywhere near his camps, to put them to work, he wanted to confiscate rich people's land, give them a stipend of 40 acres and $50. No mule was ever mentioned. But that was the phrase that newly elected in 1865, newly elected Republican diplomats from the South who had heard about this general order, because that's all it was. It wasn't even an executive order by Lincoln. It was a general order from a general under martial law, which is why it never actually gained any progress in Congress, because they brought it up, but it, like you said, Andrew Johnson didn't really push for Reconstruction.
No, that was my problem is that Andrew Johnson, what he did was all that land that was now owned by Black Americans. I'm not going to call them African Americans because they're Black Americans. At that point, they were born in America because of antebellum slavery.
Get
But what he
chattel.
did was he took that back away from them and said, no, that goes back to the people who owned it before.
But also, the argument does make sense. Like, they were never seen as not Americans. Like the Confederacy in Lincoln's government's eye was never seen as a sovereign country. It was always
No.
seen as rebellion, which
Yeah.
means that those American liberties that everybody so desperately craves today, which they should because they're fucking amazing, but those American liberties also applied to the Confederates, including the right to your property, which is their Fourth Amendment right.
Yes. Yes.
That's why it never went
But,
through.
but at that point, you were a
And Fifth
treasonous
Amendment, by the way.
American. I know, but you're a treasonous American.
True, but to heal the country, Lincoln didn't want to call them traitors. He wanted to heal and be like, "Hey, yeah, you guys really messed up, but we're not going to actually execute any of you. We're not going to imprison any of you except for Jefferson Davis and a couple other people." But like blanket pardons out the ass. People today would be losing their fucking minds with those pardons.
Oh my God, dude.
Dude.
January 6th?
Oh, dude.
You
No,
mean pardons?
no, I mean like fucking okay, we're not going to go down politics.
I know.
Listen, I really do when I talk about history, especially going into teaching, I try my best to just be unbiased.
I'm absolutely unbiased. I will always be
I'm
unbiased.
well, we're completely biased, and that just has to. But to examine things, we have to attempt to be unbiased.
Well, no, dude, because you know I have no political affiliation.
Oh yeah, I mean, but more so, what I mean by conviction, like bias, like FDR. I think FDR is one of the most terrible presidents we have ever had, and that is a very highly debated topic.
Yes.
I think
Yes.
FDR was as close to a dictatorship as America has ever come. I mean, the motherfucker had to die in office for us to get rid of him.
Yeah, but
Four
he was
times.
only,
He got elected four times.
well, yeah, it was during a fucking World War.
I understand, but what's the difference between someone who can serve 16 years as president and a ruling class that America, look, I understand the irony, okay? But like that America really stands for. I mean, there was no end in sight. Not even George Washington felt the need to lead the country for more than 8 years. And I mean, we can argue about it at a later episode, but I think the foundation of this country was a lot more sketchy than any time during World War II.
You are 100% correct. However, I will tell you that who wants to fucking adopt that ugly baby at that point? When you look at FDR and you look at what he was going through and all the bullshit he was dealing with and all the money and equipment we were sending to Europe, who wants to adopt that ugly baby? Because now that's your problem and you have no idea what's going on.
I mean, that's fair, but that's not a good reason to not have a new president. I mean, it's happened. Fuck, Lincoln had an election during the Civil War. If he would have lost the election, you know what I mean? Like, he just so happened to have won. But to say there was too much going on, I mean, 1864 was a pretty crazy year,
Yeah,
you know.
you're not wrong. You're not
I
wrong.
just and it's the things that he did, not necessarily just the time that he served, but the mid or not the midnight, the court packing, completely just tried to say, if you're over the age of 60, I'm going to appoint you an extra judge to look over your decisions because you're getting too old. We don't trust you. But they're going to be judges appointed by me that don't require congressional approval because they're not actual judge appointments.
So I'm not saying you're wrong, but what I am saying is
The bourbon's
historically
kicking
is
in.
well, yes, it 100% the Brewers have been
We're on
kicking
the
in since
FDR
like
hate. The bourbon's
yep,
kicking.
yep. So the thing I will say is that you're not wrong as far as the 16 years spent in office, double what we know of today, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I've already brought up the ugly baby, all that bullshit. But here is a testament to a split party that backed him because we still had the two-party system then that
Mm-hmm.
said, nope, you still need to be president.
I mean, and then we have Executive Order 9066, where he just decided to lock up a bunch of Japanese Americans with no habeas corpus. I mean, I get it.
Same,
Wartime,
same,
I
same with
understand.
German Americans. Same with
Yeah.
German Americans.
Yep.
Come on,
Yep.
this ain't new.
Yeah. I like, so here's the thing. I hate that you have to choose in today's society because I love America. I know we're the best thing going right now.
Yep.
I've seen enough of this world to know how very fucking fortunate we are. And if you don't think that America is the best place to live, you have to travel more because you will be very sadly mistaken when you get back. But why we have to look at American history as either over glorified good or dog shit fucking awful. Like, why can't we just accept that everybody has like bad history? Like,
They
yeah,
do.
there was slavery here, but we also gave people human rights. We led into the revolutionary summer that took over most of Europe.
So
Like,
here,
it's
here's what I'll tell you, and I will tell you this philosophy in closing, right? Because we are getting close to time.
yes,
So I will tell
we're
you this
past time,
philosophy.
brother.
I know it's fine. We're still putting it out. My philosophy in closing is that no individual life is perfect. We all make mistakes. History, especially when you look at a country, is going to make mistakes. But what I will tell you is that America is the one country on this planet that will fight. The citizens will fight for their belief in something and try to progress towards better or try to progress towards their beliefs. And in any other country on this fucking planet, most of them, you'd be dead for trying to
Yes,
express those rights.
yes. I actually
And that's why I love America because no matter if I agree with you or not, you have exercised your right to fight for what you believe in.
so I'm not going to state the professor. You are exactly right, DJ. That is perfectly said. I'm not going to say the professor, but it was a very what I felt a very one-sided final paper was America was founded on the all men are created equal statement from the Declaration. How have we fallen short from that? And that's why I kind of brought this up, is because it made me focus on all of the bad things that America has done, but it does not even give you a chance to defend all of the good with it. You
Yep.
know, like, you're not a perfect person. You've messed up in your life. I've messed up in my life. That doesn't mean we're bad people, though.
Yep.
Like, Thomas Jefferson gave us the Declaration of Independence, and not all, but like, he had a say in the Constitution. He was the governor of Virginia. He was the president of the United States. He bought the Louisiana Purchase. Like, he owned slaves. Look at all of the good that he did. And you can accept it both, but that's a net positive in my book. Yeah, it's atrocious, but at the same time, it's 250 years later, and we're still talking about what this man wrote on paper. You will
But
never write anything more consequential than that.
you're right. And that's the thing is that we typically, as Americans, we like to hyper focus on the bad and we don't hyper focus on the reality and the logics behind all of that, right? There's so much more that comes into play than just the bad. And I think you and I, specifically, as individuals who have fought and grown in a melting pot in the Marine Corps, where people that, dude, there are people that my kids call their uncles that are of a completely different ethnicity than I am.
Well, yeah.
And at a certain point when they get older, they're going to be like, how is he my uncle?
Ah, that shit's thicker than water.
Yep, because blood is thicker than water,
Yeah, I get it,
right?
man.
Those are my people. That's why that individual who is Black Uncle Ron or this and that, that's why that's your uncle, because that will always be my brother. And I will always fight alongside those individuals because I can always look at the good and the bad all together. Nothing will ever be perfect. There's no gem that anybody's ever going to cut that's ever going to be perfect. But
Agreed.
what I will tell you is that what America has done for me, it has allowed me to be in a population where I know individuals from all walks of life, all ethnicities, all origins, all religions, all sexual persuasions.
Dude, from all over this country.
Yep, all of this world.
Dude, like, I got friends that, yeah, I was gonna say, like, I've got friends that aren't even on this continent.
Nope. But those people I love with all my heart, and I will always do a service to them. And it dates back to exactly what we did at the founding of this nation. Yes, was slavery a thing then? 100% it was.
But also,
Had it not been, hold on, had it not been, would I have my mentor Ron? Would I have some of my best friends from St. Louis? Would I have some of the Marines I had when I was in the Marine Corps? No, I wouldn't, because the likelihood of their migration to this country, forced, granted, at the time, would that exist? No. But because of the way that history played out, those beautiful people in my life are here because of the way that history played out.
I like that. I think that's a good place to end.
I'm good with that.
So we covered Woodrow Wilson and FDR being turds.
Hold
Gavril
on.
Prince Gavril Princip randomly had a Subway sandwich that turned into a world war.
Yep.
Some stuff about the Civil War in Lincoln,
Yep.
obviously. Some World War II schnazzy guys.
Yeah. Schnazzy. Fucking pieces of shit.
Yeah, dude. I think it was a good episode.
That it was great.
I think
And I love
I think
this.
we'll
I love
throw
this
these in
too.
every now and then.
Dude, dude, I love it. And especially because you know me, I'm a very humanities guy. I have way too many friends across the spectrum, and I love all of them. And I think that the way that history ties in together with all of those different like cultural backgrounds and the way that we look at the conveyance of those cultures throughout history, it's a beautiful thing. It's beautiful.
It really is. All right, man. I love you. I'm so glad we did this.
I love you too, baby. Cheers.
Cheers. How do I start? There it is.